PowerPoint is one of the best edge detection algorithms I've ever seen. If you're familiar with Tom Wildenhain's wonderful video, Great and Practical Ideas in Computer Science, PowerPoint Programming, this shouldn't surprise you. If you aren't familiar with that video, I recommend checking it out. There's a link in the description. So what is edge detection? It is the way that a program finds the edges inside of an image. PowerPoint uses this to implement the remove background feature, and that's how I first discovered the algorithm. I use it to remove the black borders of magic cards and to turn them into the image on the right here. And as I was playing around with and experimenting and figuring out exactly how it worked, I learned a lot about how the algorithm actually works, and it impressed me as to the level of complexity I imagine is required for that. So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how I use the background removal tool to remove the black border from a magic card. And then I'm going to I'm going to show a little bit more complicated of an edge removal problem and show how PowerPoint handles it. So let's get started. All right, so we have a copy of Golos Tireless Pilgrim here, and I would like to remove the black border from around him. So I'm going to come up to the top here and click Format and Remove Background. We're now in the tool, and we can see that the card itself has gone purple, and we have a rectangular box. The rectangular box is the limits for what you want to basically to separate the initial indicator to separate the border, the edge that you want to separate. So in this case, since I want to separate the black edge from the gray card, I'm going to take the box all the way around, and you can see this, as soon as I have the frame framed, PowerPoint does an incredibly good job of finding the edges and outlining them for me. So if I just go to keep changes here, you can see the border is gone. It's that simple. You can do some other cool things with this as well if you want to get more specific with your removals. So for example, if you wanted to keep the Planeswalker emblem down here, you could go to mark areas to keep, click on the middle of it, and it did an okay job of finding part of the edge, but if you just kind of click on it more, it gathers more information as you point it in what you want. And so we can see here, with 3 clicks, it, in my opinion, did an incredibly good job of outlining that, and we still have the perfectly clean edge separation there. So, like I said, it does a very good job, and admittedly, this is a very simple edge detection problem. So, as I was using the background removal tool for a little bit more of a complicated challenge, for instance, this picture here, where my goal was to remove the balls of yarn and the string of yarn here from the background. This is clearly a more complicated edge detection problem than the very cleanly distinct card edges, but I wanted to see what would happen. And so I started going about with the background removal tool, and this is what I came out with. And on a blue background, just so it's a little bit more apparent. And I'm personally incredibly impressed by this. The string itself doesn't look all that impressive at first glance, but it's incredible, in my opinion, that it was able to pick that up. That the color difference between like the white of the background and like the slightly gray of the string is not easy to differentiate from in the math that actually implements this. But really, what impressed me was the actual edges of the balls of yarn. They are, like I said, very clean in my opinion. It's not currently usable in like this form to be added to like a graphic or anything like that. But what I do for this stage is I take it into an actual graphic editing program, like GIMP in this example, and I can clean it up and touch it up. So for instance, if I just zoom into, say, something down here, like you can do all of the fine tuning, and I'm going to come into this and clean up the string, fill this edge in properly, blur it out and such, do the proper like actual photo editing. But for me, it was a lot easier to get to this stage using PowerPoint's remove background feature than it was to hand trace this or use any of like the magic tools within GIMP. Admittedly, I don't know how to use GIMP or any editing software like properly, so if there is an easier way to do it, please let me know, and I could probably save some time. But either way, I thought this was just kind of a really cool discovery. Um, and yeah. Oh, well, one last thing, because I never actually showed how I accomplished this. Um, it looks like this. It's not clean, it's not elegant by any means, but it worked. Um, so basically, if you remember what I mentioned about the adding areas to separate to add in like the planeswalker symbol, I basically did that here to a much greater extent. Um, this is basically I traced the string and I just kept these are all individual clicks, every single one of the like the plus signs. And so basically what I learned was that as I kept adding clicks, the algorithm was getting more accurate. I guess it builds a profile as you're going along, but essentially as you give it more specific information, it gets better at understanding what you want it to find. And so by the point I got like kept going along, I was like it followed it quite well. And like I said, I'm personally very impressed with that level of quality from PowerPoint. I honestly didn't originally expect it, but I thought it was really cool, and I hope you do well. You do as well. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.